another one, Sylvan Bard here, or you can call me Sully. I'd like to do a tribute review based on the recent news of the recent passing of a well-known filmmaker. On June 22nd, 2020, Joel Schumacher had passed away at the age of 80 to cancer. And though he's considered to be infamous with his Batman movies and The Phantom of the Opera, he has made a career in directing thrillers and dramas, with some, if not most, being forgotten or underrated, while films like The Lost Boys and St. Elmo's Fire get recognition. But, out of all the movies that he has made, which one do I feel is right to review? I've already reviewed his 2 Batman movies, so I have to see what else he did. I was thinking about reviewing The Lost Boys, but that's more suited for Halloween with it being about vampires. And then I thought about reviewing Flatliners, but I also remember the remake that came out 3 years ago, and I can't do one without the other, so maybe someday a compare and contrast will come from this. And then I figured to reviewing The Phantom of the Opera, but then something occurred to me. This year marked a big return for Jim Carrey to the silver screen, apart from the other times a few years prior, and since his role of Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog was a huge comeback, I felt it necessary to review a movie in celebration of that. And so, in honor of the late filmmaker's passing and an actor's return to the big screen, it makes sense to review a movie that had the both of them working together. The second time. And more fitting with rumors of a nearly 3-hour cut of Batman Forever getting mentioned. And the one movie that I'm reviewing from those 2 is the ever underrated flick that deserves another look. The Number 23. An animal control officer named Walter Sparrow isn't having a good birthday, as he couldn't catch a dog named Ned that bit his arm, and often goes to a cemetery, and he also arrives late to pick up his wife Agatha at her bakery. But once Walter shows up, he sees Agatha reading a book called The Number 23, written by Topsy Critz, and she buys it. Walter soon reads the book and quickly discovers that the character in the book, named Fingerling, is very and eerily similar to him and his life. But the more Walter reads the book, the more paranoid and obsessive he becomes of the number 23, which pops up everywhere in his life as well as in the book, and he tries to find out who wrote the book and how the author knows so much about him, his past, and even his present. If I were to make a top 5 list of favorite Jim Carrey movies, they would be, in no particular order, Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who, Me, Myself, and Irene, The Truman Show, and The Mask. But if I were to make a top 10 list of favorite Jim Carrey movies, the number 23 would be one of them, which is quite a different role for him to take, with there being little to no comedy and being kind of dark. Yet, it was all quite worth it. Sure, he gets to sneak in a tiny bit of humor on occasion, but for the most part, Carrey plays his 2 roles straight, especially as Fingerling with his big black coat and tattoo on his back. As Fingerling, he's a detective solving crimes of murder, has his way with a woman named Fabrizia, tries helping a woman by the name of Suicide Blonde, whose uncle is obsessed with the number 23 and it haunts her, and Fingerling also becomes obsessed with the number. Yet as Walter, Carrey's being a normal guy, until he gets the same obsession as Fingerling, while moments in the book were, or become, an exact reflection of his life. From Carrey's narration of himself as Walter, and as Fingerling in the book, to the final revelation of who wrote the book and who Walter was, Jim's dual roles are pretty fascinating and intriguing, up to being a bit disturbing and intense. But unlike Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo, where his disturbing and dramatic parts made me not care for what he's doing and is somewhat creepy, Jim Carrey here made me care for his actions and what comes of it. I wanted him to solve this mystery, and I became impressed with how he handles it, and never gave up, despite the number popping up everywhere and being a huge distraction as much as an obsession. I really applaud him for taking both roles seriously, and not once did I feel creeped out by him. But for the movie, I don't see it as a bad film. It's honestly good for what it is, and surprising to me when I first saw it. Yeah, this is my second time looking over this film, and I got the same reaction to it, being quite amazing, despite the twist not being too surprising again, but still good. I like how often the number 23 appears thanks to some clever camera shots and even shown in very subtle parts. The overall look has a gloomy feel to it, yet it has atmosphere and plays great during the scenes with Fingerling. But of course, to where the criticisms of the film lie are sort of noticeable. Like the math of 23 being a bit too much, and the use of the number being overblown and ridiculous, the way the book is made and the clues laid out are too coincidental, and another mystery involving the murder of a 23-year-old woman on top of the main mystery and its connection to it being out of nowhere and tagged on. Yet for me, they don't bother me too much, even if they're in your face and do come together and fit nicely by the end. Though occasionally, there are bits that make me question the film that never get answered. Like who is really the suicide blonde, and where and why the number 23 came into being. But, like I said, they don't bother me too much and don't harm my overall viewing of the film. As for the actors playing their characters, they did a pretty nice job. Jim Carrey plays Walter Sparrow in Fingerling. Virginia Madsen plays Agatha Sparrow in Fabrizia. Logan Lerman plays Robin Sparrow. Danny Huston plays Isaac French and Dr. Miles Phoenix. Rona Mitra plays Laura Tullins. Bud Cort plays Dr. Leary. Mark Pellegrino plays Kyle Flinch. Lynn Collins plays Suicide Blonde. Michelle Arthur plays Sybil. Ed Lauter plays Father Sebastian. And Patricia Bleacher plays Dr. Alice Mortimer. As a whole, this movie is quite something and it's amazingly good. The characters are good, the story is intriguing, and the effects, when used, are simply neat. As an underrated gem from Joel Schumacher and Jim Carrey, it is a twisted look into an obsession and a mirror of a past life that goes in twists and turns and has surprises here and there. While it has some iffy moments, they don't harm too much of the overall film, and the suspense it has is big with the coincidences of Walter and the paranoia he goes through with just a book. Though I might see why it's disliked by many, I can't deny the suspenseful intrigue and nightmarish look of the late director's vision and the comedic actor bringing in a role unlike any other. All in all, it's a surprisingly good psychological thriller. So today, this movie will get a rating of 3.5 stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and tune in next time for a new video.